Paralympic Games start in Paris tomorrow with almost 4,500 athletes competing across 22 different sports. One of the most popular sports at the Games is wheelchair rugby, and a student from Wales has developed technology that could change how it's played. Joseph Jones is a student of Global Innovation Design, and he joins us now on the line. Joseph, good morning to you, and tell us about this technology that you've invented and how it relates to wheelchair rugby.
Good morning. Thanks so much for having me. So Caster is a piece of software, as you said, that I developed during my time at the Royal College of Art. It was my master's project. One of the really nice things about the Royal College is the freedom that they give you when deciding what it is you want to do for your master's project. And I knew I wanted to do something with wheelchair rugby. And so what Caster does is it detects where the players are on the court using just a simple camera system, and that allows you to create tracking data, so broadcasters can then make on-court graphics that you might see in a halftime show or a match of the day kind of situation, where you can create those graphics on court to better explain what is going on to spectators. And
what's inspired you to develop this technology?
So my father was actually a Paralympian. He competed in Seoul, Atlanta and Sydney in 92, 96 and 2000. Atlanta and Sydney, he competed in wheelchair rugby. And my mother, she was an occupational therapist working in a spinal injuries ward for her whole working life. So I've really grown up around the sport. I actually had my first birthday in Australia because my dad was competing in the Games.
And what do you hope for the sport? How do you hope that this technology might change it? Will it be widely adopted?
Yeah, so what I'm really hoping to get out of this is that people get a better understanding of the sport, especially from a spectator level, so that they feel inspired to get more involved with the sport, because what the sport really needs at the moment is more volunteers. So I would really encourage anyone listening to look, if they see the sport being played during the Paralympics and they get inspired, to reach out to their local clubs, because they would really appreciate more volunteers.
And you mentioned your dad, Keith Jones, representing Team GB in the Paralympic Games in Seoul, Atlanta and in Sydney. What do you remember from growing up and seeing him playing?
So I was a bit too young to remember him actually competing, because I was only one when he competed in his last Paralympic Games in Sydney. But it was really, especially sort of growing up around the sport now, because he still coaches, I see that sense of community that there is. Like, people bring their kids to the training sessions, so it's really great for them to be able to, for other players to see that people with similar disabilities to themselves can still have that family, can still have that full life, as I think lots of them, especially if they're newly injured, can feel like sort of this is the end. But when they see that there is a community for them and there is sort of hope going forward, I think that's one of the best things that comes out of the sport.
And wheelchair rugby is really good fun to watch. It can be quite brutal, can't it? Have you tried it yourself?
Yeah, definitely. It's a very brutal sport, but it's also very tactical, and I think that's sort of what I'm hoping to convey with this technology, is some of the nuances of the tactical play. I have played it during some tryout sessions that my dad has run in Cardiff, and he always used to run absolute rings around me.
I'm sure he did, a former pro. And Joseph, this technology, you said you hope it helps spectators. How is that going to kind of translate into real time, people watching in real time? Will that be extra information and statistics, or how would that look?
Yeah, so like you might see in sort of a halftime show in the football, where they can highlight individual players and the commentators can then easily speak through exactly what's happening in the play. That's sort of what I'm hoping to achieve with Caster, is being able to sort of highlight those plays, particularly for the players with lower points. So wheelchair rugby has a point system where the more disabled players have lower points, and then the higher point players are usually the ball handlers. So sometimes in broadcasting, they tend to focus on just where the ball is. So you can lose some of that plays that the lower point players are doing, which really set up the higher point players to be able to score those goals.
That sounds fascinating. Joseph Jones, many thanks. Student of Global Innovation Design there. We wish him luck with his wheelchair rugby technology invention. And the Paralympics actually start tomorrow in Paris, and South African Shaun Anderson will once again attempt to prove that anything is possible.